all you 9/11 debunkers out there, debunk this. Debunk this video. I defy you. It'd be pretty hard to debunk this one. I'm using basically nothing but physics and evidence. In this video, I'm just basically going to concentrate mostly on physics. A little bit on logic, but I'm not going to get too much into the other things about it, but I could mention a few things. The Trade Center had many fire prevention things. I mean, some of these were actually pretty advanced and pretty good. They were well designed. The Trade Center was very well designed. So, but every single one of these fire prevention things failed, including the fact that the different floors, it was built in 3 sections, and each section was hermetically sealed to prevent fire from getting to one section of the building and the other. So why, when you had a plane hit on the 70th floor or whatever, and a big fireball, big fire raging, how come there were explosions in the basements? And don't sit here and try to tell me there were no explosions in the basement. There were hundreds of witnesses. There were hundreds of people that were killed and injured by explosions, massive explosions in the basement area. So don't sit here and tell me, well, there wasn't no fire down there. And what the hell could have been down there to explode? They had diesel tanks, I suppose, for backup generators, but that wouldn't have been enough to, massive explosion that killed and injured hundreds of people. That was heard. It made the building, the camera on top of the vibrate from a mile away with they erased the sound on. But you got seismic graphs that show it. How come the sprinkler systems didn't work? The better question is, why was there no investigation? I mean, you would think there would have been an investigation going on for weeks, possibly months, trying to find out why the sprinkler systems, and there was almost nothing. I heard one thing, and I haven't been able to see anything of it since. Somebody was on their way to court to testify about some mysterious group of guys that came in and worked on the sprinkler system like a week before. And on their way to court, they got in an accident and died. Or at least this one guy did. And it's hard to find any. I think I looked again and I couldn't find any information about that. But how come there was no investigation of the sprinkler systems? Both buildings. I could spend hours talking about this stuff. The anthrax scare. That's one of the excuses they used to invade Iraq and Afghanistan. Was the anthrax attack. Well, Al-Qaeda's trying to kill us with anthrax. They're trying to kill our whole country. And the anthrax was traced to a U.S. Army base. That played one day on Fox News. And then the guy, then they traced it was just one guy who was doing it, nobody else, and who conveniently committed suicide. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Bunch of Gomer Piles. Bunch of idiot Gomer Piles. And just one other thing, I'm going to concentrate on physics, but, there's just one other thing. Some of this is logic, needs to be discussed, is what about the investigation? What about the investigation? What the hell? They had this whole thing figured out in 2, 4, 5 hours after the fact. They knew it was Bin Laden, they knew it was Al-Qaeda. They had a list of all the hijackers, the next day, less than the next day. The whole thing figured out. That must have been the fastest police investigation in human history. A massive thing this big, and they figured it all out within just a few hours. How in the hell is that possible? And an even better question, how could they have figured this whole thing out? How come they that quickly, but they didn't know anything about it the day before? My sister was telling me one time, I was mentioning just a couple things. I don't even bother telling her 9/11 was an inside job. I was telling her a couple things. She goes, everything's not a conspiracy theory. Did I say everything was a conspiracy theory? I got a little video on here about the Estonia and its sinking and the mysterious things about that. Did I claim that every single ship that ever sank in all of history was a conspiracy? Most ships sank. It's pretty cut and dry. There's clear evidence that it was either human error or the weather or something. It's pretty obvious. Estonia is a different story. Oklahoma City, that's a different story. And 9/11 is definitely a different story. Anybody who bothers to do any research has got more than 2 brain cells that function simultaneously can come up with a pretty simple, obvious conclusion. 9/11 was an inside job, and if Muslims had anything to do with it, it was a very minor role. You got millions of stupid, brainless sheeple in here in this country. We gotta kill those Muslims. We gotta kill those Muslims. Look at all this uproar about this mosque they want to build at Ground Zero. There are 2 kinds of people. I've been saying this for the last 3 years since I first discovered 9/11 was an inside job. There are 2 kinds of people who say it wasn't. The first type are government-paid agents. The second type, and this is probably the majority, are these people who just can't accept or believe that anybody in our government, any of our businessmen in this country could ever do anything wrong. They're all fine Christian people, and they would never do anything wrong. I mean...
Gomer, why didn't you tell the sergeant it wasn't you in the wreck? Why didn't you tell him it was that creep here?
I'd have built you for that.
Wait a minute. I can take care of this. I don't need nobody to fight my fights for me. Harry, I want you to come outside.
What?
I'm inviting you to step outside with me. Well, this is as good a place as any. Would you step a touch closer?
This is close enough.
Well, I don't want the fellers inside to hear.
Hear what?
What I got to say. That's the reason I asked you to step out here. I thought it'd be more private-like to talk. I didn't want to embarrass you by saying this in front of the other fellers. But, Harry, to be out and out with it, there are them here that don't think that you've been behaving yourself too attractively. 1, you got to start doing your own chores. 2, you got to quit lying on other folks' bunks. 3, you got to stop picking fights with little Joey. And let me see if there's a 4th one.
Gomer, I gotta admit it. I can't figure you out. I don't know what you're more of, dumb or chicken.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, that's just it. They're a bunch of Gomer piles. That's the problem. We live in a country of Gomer piles. Just can't believe anybody do anything wrong. Surprise, surprise, surprise. You people need to wake up. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. Oh, I don't want to ever think anything negative about people. There's some Christians think that's their Christian duty, is to never think anything negative of people. That's not what a Christian is all about. Jesus had many of negative things to say about people. Jesus spoke out against evil. And contrary to what many Christians believe, Jesus didn't go around saying, oh, I love you, I forgive you, I love you, I forgive you, you're saved, I forgive you. Jesus didn't go around saying that. Jesus said the pathway to heaven is through a narrow gate. The highway to hell is wide and broad. AC/DC, who were Satanists, by the way, made a song of that, The Highway to Hell. That's where they got that from. Oh, I forgot. There's no such thing as Satanism. Isn't that what they said in the McMartin preschool case? There's no such thing as Satanism. And some of these other so-called witch hunts, as they call them. There's no such thing as Satanism.
Within 3 seconds, the detonation zone has become roughly 30 stories tall, with the dark smoke collapse zone far above.
I then reassembled a sequence of still frames into a slow-motion version of the movie. Some things to notice. Notice that the building is not collapsing one floor at a time. Material is being explosively ejected from many floors at the same time. This contradicts the pancake theory that would explain the ejections as dust puffed out from between the floors as they slammed together. Notice that the leading edge of the explosions is extremely uniform, forming perfectly horizontal lines.